Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, now here I'm continuing looking at the rest of the Scream movies, and now here I am with a review for Scream 4. So when this movie was announced, it received like kind of a mixed reaction. Like, there were some people that were actually looking forward to it, and there were others that really were not. Yeah, there were like a people that were thinking like this film really just like was very unnecessary to do. And yeah, and there were like some people that just really like were not very excited about the film. So the film really did like it, like like when it was announced, like it received like kind of like a mixed reaction action about it being made. Yeah, I remember when I heard about the film being made, I actually was like really looking forward to it. Like yeah, when this film like was announced, like this was like when I was really like I was like 17 when this film was released. Yeah, so I was actually really looking forward to it. Yeah, and yeah, and especially since like I didn't see like any of the original three in the theater because yeah, I was like really young when the original three films were out. Like when the first film was released, I was only 2 years old. Yeah, and the second film I was three, and when the third one out, I was only six. So yeah, so obviously like I wasn't like I was too young to actually see these movies when they the movies when they were originally released. Yeah, but yeah, when I heard about this one coming out, I really was looking forward to it. Yeah, yeah. Like I said, I was 17 when this film was released. So this was like during the time when I was actually able to go see R-rated movies. Yeah, so this was actually like the first horror movie and the first like R-rated movie that I actually did see in the theater. Yeah, yeah. And when the film was released, once again, it received like kind of a mixed reaction. Like people were just like very split on this film. Some people liked it, and some people didn't. Yeah, and I guess I can understand like both ways of it. Yeah, me personally, I actually did like this film when it did come out. Like I actually really did enjoy it. Yeah, but looking at it now, years later, while I still overall like it, I can still see like why people do not like it because there is like some like it does have like quite a lot of problems. Like it does have like some pretty big problems with it. Yeah. But I do think that overall it is still a solid film. It's just like has like some pretty big flaws to it. Yeah. But yeah, any either way, like this film, it is definitely a much better film than Scream 3 was. Like this was definitely like a big improvement over a Scream 3. Yeah. 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 And it's just about like like the original cast and crew did return. Like Wes Craven did return to direct this film. Kevin Williamson did return to write the film, yeah. And of course, we had the return of David Arquette, Nev Campbell, and Courtney Cox returning in this film, yeah. Yeah, I remember like at first like it really was like uncertain about like Nev Campbell actually being in the film because I remember like I think like about like a year prior to this film's announcement, like there was like reports about like Nev Campbell not wanting to do another film, but yeah, I think like over time she did come around, yeah, and she did come back, yeah, 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 and they all once like they still do like a really good in the film. Yeah, I mean David Arquette, Nev Campbell, and Courtney Cox like they still do like deliver like really great performances his in the film. Yeah, and this film also like has a cast of like other people like this film like has cast members like Emma Roberts, Hayden Panettiere, Rory Culkin, Anthony Anderson, Adam Brody, and some others as well. Yeah, and the cast of this film, for the most part, are good. Like, yeah, like just about like everybody does like deliver solid performances in the film. There's only like one character that I don't think is really done very good, and that is Jill, Sydney's cousin in the film, who's played by Emma Roberts. Yeah, like yeah, I mean, just I've never really been a fan of Emma Roberts. I've just really never enjoyed anything that she's been in. Like I've seen like quite a few things with Emma Roberts in them, and I just really haven't liked them. Like I just really do not enjoy Emma Roberts acting. I mean, I don't know like what it is, but yeah, I just don't like her acting. Like just man, she's a pretty girl, and I'm sure that she is like nice, but just I just really am not a fan of her as an actress. Like I just like do not like anything that I have seen her in. Like there was like the Nickelodeon show Unfabulous, which I hated. Yeah, I remember I did see the film that she was in, a Nancy Drew, which I didn't like. Yeah, and this film, this is where like I do think that you almost did a pretty good job in the film. Like throughout most of the film, like she is like a pretty good, but when we get to the end of the film, yeah, she just like really just loses all credibility, and it really just like does go like just fall down a cliff for her basically. Yeah, because yeah, the ending, like when we do it is revealed with her like in the end, like I'm sure I'm not giving anything away because I'm sure like if you're watching this review, you've seen the movie. Yeah, but yeah, just like when it is revealed that she is one of the killers in the film. Yeah, that is really just like when her character really just loses all credibility and everything just really falls off a cliff for her because yeah, just her motive is just like it is like absolutely weak and it doesn't make sense at all. So yeah, I just feel that like when it's revealed that she is one of the killers in the film, yeah, that's just what totally ruins everything for her. So yeah, so just yeah, I just really have not really liked Emma Roberts at all, and like this is where she almost did pretty good, but then like I said, just it's all ruined when it gets to the end. So yeah, so yeah, there's that. Yeah. But yeah, everybody else in the film does overall give like pretty solid performances. Like I said, David Arquette, Nev Campbell, and Courtney Cox still are all really good in the film. Yeah, and the three of them really did like age pretty good. Like this film came out in 2011, so 11 years the after Scream 3. Yeah, and all three of them really do have did age pretty well. Hell, after over a decade, yeah, they all still do look pretty good in the film. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And as far as like everybody else in the film, Hayden Panettiere, she's pretty good, and Rory Culkin is pretty good, and everyone else that is in the film, I do think that they all do give like a pretty solid performances. Yeah. So yeah. So really just yeah. So as far as the film, yeah, I haven't really like gotten to the film yet. I do think that the film overall, while it does have like some problems, like I've said, I do think that overall it is still a solid film. What I do think is like a really interesting about the film is that like it kind of like is like saying how the killers in this film are is a like kind of trying to like remake the events from the original film. So yeah, so they are kind of like going down the route of like kind of making this film kind of a feel like a remake in a way. Yeah, and that was it's really interesting that they kind of like did that because of course in the years prior to this film, like they were really coming out with a lot of remakes of classic horror movies, and they even do kind of uh, poke fun at that in this film to just kind of like show like how many remakes there have been. And yeah, yeah, and so yeah, and so I think that's one of the reasons why they really did like kind of like go the route of doing that with this film because of how many remakes of the classic horror movies that there have been. They decided to kind of like just like treat this film kind of as a remake in a sense, while it's not, but it's not really like a remake. It is still like another sequel, not a remake. But yeah, I did kind of like find it interesting that they did kind of like treat it as a remake because yeah, as you're watching this film, you do like notice how it does really have like a lot of like the elements that were in the original movie. Like they like Like do have like the stuff where like the killer does kill somebody in their house when they're alone. Yeah, you they kind of like do the "I'll be right back" bit in the film. Yeah, and even like when the killers are revealed, they kind of like go down the same route that Billy and Stu did in the original film. Yeah. So yeah, so it does have like a lot of stuff like that to really like give it like that remake feel to it. Yeah. As far as the murders in this film goes, like, oh gosh, the some of the murders in this film, they really are like pretty gruesome. Like, yeah, I mean, it does seem like more violent in this film than it did in the original three. Like, just as you're watching some of these murders, like it really does seem pretty brutal. Like, you see like blood splatter at points. There's even like a scene where like an entire room has blood all over the walls. Yeah, there's like a one point when the killer like one of the stabs a cop in the forehead. And yeah, and there are like some other brutal murders in this film too. So yeah, so this film like really does seem more violent than the original three did. Yeah. So yeah. So what can I really say about the film? I do think that overall it is good. There are some problems, like I said, like when it's revealed that Jill is one of the killers, that really just does kind of like a make her character really fall off a cliff. And I do think that that is probably like the biggest flaw that this movie does have, especially her motivation for the whole thing. Yeah, and there are like some other problems, like I said in the film and stuff. But yeah, overall, I do think that the film still is solid enough. Like I did find myself at least enjoying it enough. So yeah, so I just don't know what else I can say about it. I do think that while it does have problems and it still is not as good as the first two films, it is still like a pretty solid film. Like I said, it is a major improvement over the third film. So yeah, so I just really don't know what to really say. Like I really don't know like what to say when it really comes to actually recommending this film. I do think that overall this probably really is not going to really like make this really is not gonna it may not win you over like it the first two films would, but yeah, if you are like into like more violent murders and you just want to see something like if you really were like kind of like put off after Scream 3. Like this film is like still a step up from a Scream 3. So yeah, if you're looking for something like that, and if you are like into more violent murders than what we did get in the previous three films, then yeah, you'll get that in this film. So yeah, uh, so yeah, so if you are like willing to put up with like the stuff that this film probably really is not, some of the problems that this film does have, I do think that it is at least worth a watch at least once. So I guess I would probably give the film probably uh, I guess I would go probably like a 2.75 stars out of 4. Like I said, I can really like see people really going like feeling either way about the film because yeah, there are problems, but at the same time like it I do find myself enjoying it enough and I can see like why other people would like it too. I've even heard like some people say that they actually do prefer this one over the second film. I definitely wouldn't go that far, but yeah, I still did at least find myself enjoying it enough and yeah, yeah. So yeah, so I do think that like it is something that like while I will definitely like prefer watching the first two films, I can still say that like I can still see myself watching this like like if I was ever like just in the mood for it. So yeah. Okay, so I'm already like 14 minutes into this review, so yeah, so I'll just talk about the premise of the film. Oh yeah, one more thing that I do want to mention before I actually do get into the premise of the film, I did think it was clever that like the way that they like uh advertised this movie like on like all the posters and in the trailers and stuff, they like had this film's title like be labeled like with a 4 in place of the A in Scream. So it's so yeah, since like the 4 is like in a similar shape to the A, I did like how they like styled the title like that to give it put a 4 in place of the A. So I did think that was interesting. All right, anyway. Okay. So let me talk about the premise of the film. So yeah. So the film opens up kind of just like showing how there's like these like two girls, and like they're being like toyed by a killer on the phone, of course, yeah. But then yeah, then eventually the killer does like end up like getting in the house and then ends up killing them. But then it's revealed that it's just like another one of the Stab movies. I think it's like now Stab 6. Then we see like two other girls like watching it and just talking, and then one of them then gets stabbed by the other one. Yeah, but then that's revealed to just be like a Stab 7. Yeah. Then yeah, then like there are two girls watching that, and this is like the real opening, like in the reality of the movie. Yeah, where we see like these two like teenage girls, Jenny and Marnie. Yeah, then it's like talked about how like all these like new STEM movies after the third one are not following the events of like Sydney and the Ghostface Killer, because apparently like it's mentioned how like Sydney threatened to sue the studio or whatever. Yeah, but then yeah, then eventually then like Jenny ends up getting a call, and it's the Ghostface Killer, and then the killer is just like toying with her, and it's showing how Marnie has been murdered. And then yeah, then eventually then like the killer was chasing after Jenny and ended up stabbing and killing her. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Yeah, then it's like shown how like it's now been like a 15 years since the events of the original movie with the Woodsboro murders. Yeah, and it's shown how like Sydney has come back to Woodsboro, and she's like written a new book, and like she's like having a signing to promote the book. Yeah, and as it like showed at the end of the third movie, it shows that now Dewey and Gail are married, and Dewey has now the Woodsboro sheriff. Yeah, and yeah, then when Dewey he does find out about the murders of Jenny and Marnie. Then, like Dewey and some of his other deputies, which include uh, Hicks and Perkins and Haas, yeah, they investigate. Then it's shown how um, they discover a piece of evidence in Sydney's car. Oh yeah. So as a result of this investigation, Sydney has to stay in Woodsboro until the murders are solved. Yeah. Yeah. Then it's shown how like Sydney's cousin Jill, who was played by Emma Roberts, along with two of her friends, Olivia Morris, who's played by Marielle Jeff or Jaff or something like that, and Kirby Reed, who's played by Hayden Panettiere. They end up getting a call from the Ghost Face. Yeah, and as a result, Dewey like was questioning them about it. Yeah, and it's showing like how like Gail is also like trying to really investigate the murders as well, though Dewey is against it. Yeah, yeah, and it shows how like also how Jill has like an ex boyfriend, Trevor, who is apparently has some infidelity and has apparently like been calling Olivia and Kirby. Yeah. Yeah, and this does become a factor like later on. Yeah, throughout the film, it is like shown how like Trevor is still like trying to like be with Jill and talk to her, but Jill really just doesn't really want it. Yeah, 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 and it's showing how like as while Sydney is in Woodsboro, she's staying with Jill and Jill's mother, who's also Sydney's aunt, Kate. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, then that night, as Kirby is up in Jill's room with her, they then end up getting a call from the Ghostface Killer, and yeah, yeah, and something that's like really stupid here is like at one point the killer does tell Kirby and Jill that that he's in the closet, and rather than like just like running out of the room, for some reason they actually open the closet. Like, you idiots, you don't do that. Like, if somebody tells you they're in the closet, run for your freaking life. Don't open it and look for them. Like, how stupid is that? Yeah. So I guess that is another flaw with the movie. Yeah. Yeah, just like how dumb they can be. But then it's like revealed that the killer is not actually in Jill's closet, but he was in Olivia's closet, and then the killer then appeared in Olivia's bedroom and ended up stabbing and killing her. And it showed how like Olivia lived across the street from Jill, so Kirby and Jill actually watched the killer stab Olivia to death. Then Sydney then ran across the street to Heat, and then the killer then like tried to go after Sydney, but Sydney was able to fight the killer off. And as Perkins and Haas then arrived, the killer just fled. Yeah, and yeah, then as Sydney and Jill went to the hospital because I showed how like Jill also went to Olivia's house, and the killer like ended up slitting Jill's wrist. Yeah, yeah. So as Sydney and Jill were in the hospital, Sydney's a book publicist, his Rebecca, like they're showing how she is trying to want to exploit these murders to increase the sales of Sydney's book, but because of this, and Sydney then just ended up firing Rebecca. But then as Rebecca was leaving, then the the killer then was calling Rebecca and toying with her, and then eventually then uh, Rebecca ended up being murdered by the killer in the hospital parking garage. Then with Gil really wanting to really investigate these murders and dig deeper into it, then she enlisted the help of two uh, 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 of the students at Woodsboro High School, which are leaders of a movie club at the school, Charlie Walker and Robbie Mercer. So Gail enlisted the help of them. And then over time, Charlie was noticing how the killer seemed to really be um trying to redo what the original killer did from the original film. And was really just going over the rules of horror remakes. And then then Gail and Sydney eventually came to the conclusion that the killer is likely to strike at what is known as the Stabathon, which is a screening party held in a barn where with a bunch of teens gathering to binge watch all the Stab movies. So then that night, Gail then snuck into the Stabathon to try to investigate. She planted cameras all around, with Dewey once again against it. But then Gail ended up being attacked by the killer and ended up being stabbed in the shoulder. But Dewey was able to stop the killer from actually killing her. Yeah, then it was showing how Haas and Perkins were guarding Jill's house, but they also eventually ended up being killed. And Perkins' murder was pretty brutal. The killer actually stabbed him right in the forehead. Ugh. Yeah, yeah. Then after a Sydney got a call from the killer, then the ghost the killer then was went after Sydney and Kate, but and they tried to lock the killer out, but the killer ended up stabbing Kate in the back through poking the knife through the mail slot, and that ended up killing Kate. Yeah. And then then later on it showed how Jill, Kirby, Charlie and Robbie were all at Kirby's house for like an after party for the Stabathon. Yeah, and I guess I should also say like this movie shows how like Kirby is like a real fanatic for horror films as well. Yeah, yeah, and then it showed like how Trevor also eventually arrived as well. Yeah, oh yeah, but he was like a really just like a driving like everybody away from him. Yeah, yeah. Then eventually, as Robbie was like walking around outside, the ghost face killer then ended up just killing Robbie. Yeah. Then as Sydney then arrived to try to um uh, take Jill, oh, the killer then like appeared and was chasing after them. Yeah, the killer was then chasing Sydney, Jill, and Kirby. Yeah. And yeah, then Sydney then just had Jill hide under the bed, and then like Sydney then some then called Dewey, told him that the killer was at Kirby. So then yeah, uh, Dewey, he and a lot of his other deputies then rushed over to Kirby's. Yeah, yeah, but then yeah, then it showed then eventually how like Charlie was outside, and then the killer then appeared behind Charlie. Yeah, then it showed how Charlie was like just bounded to a chair outside. Yeah, and yeah. Then the killer then called Kirby through Charlie's phone, then was trying to toy with Kirby and just like pull the same stuff that the killer did on Casey Becker in the original movies with questions about like horror movies. Yeah. Then yeah. Then eventually then Kirby thought that she then was able to uh, outsmart the killer. And then yeah, then as she went outside to free Charlie, then Charlie then just stabbed Kirby, and then it was revealed that Charlie was the killer. Yeah, then yeah, then you just uh stabbed Kirby and just left her to die. But yeah, and supposedly killing Kirby, but of course, Kirby is in the new movie, so yeah, so that reveals that she survived here. Yeah, and yeah, then as Charlie then went after Sydney, then as Sydney was overpowering Charlie, then another ghost face appeared and was revealed to be Jill. Yeah, 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 and like I said, like yeah, Jill's motivation really doesn't make sense. She explains how she's doing this because she was jealous of Sydney's fame for her surviving the previous killings, and she's wanting to achieve fame as a victim of the murders or something. Yeah, it really does not make sense at all. Yeah. And yeah, and it shows how she was trying to frame Trevor as a ghost face, and it shows how she then captured Trevor and was just getting after him for cheating on her. Yeah. Then yeah, then she just shot Trevor in the ding ding. Yeah. Then killed him by shooting him in the head. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and it showed how yeah, then they were Jill and Charlie were then trying to pull the same stuff like I said, they were basically trying to do remakes with them now being the survivors, like Sydney and Randy originally were. Yeah. Then yeah, then as they tried to pull the whole stabbing thing that Billy and Stu then tried to pull, like like Charlie was trying to was having Jill stab him in the shoulder, but then Jill just ended up stabbing Charlie in the heart, killing him. So Jill's whole plan is to like have it seen that Trevor and Charlie were working together. Yeah. Then yeah, then Jill then stabs Sydney thinking that she killed her. Yeah. Then yeah, then to make herself look like a victim, Jill then just mutilated herself and just beat herself up. She gave herself some scratches, and also pulled some of her hair out, then just like threw herself into like some stuff. Like she threw herself into like a glass frame, and then just threw herself through a glass table and stuff. So yeah, so it was like kind of just like, oh man, I mean, she kind of did go overboard with this. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, then when Dewey and the police arrived, Sydney and Joe were taken to the hospital, and Joe had like some press were like trying to ask Jill some questions. Yeah. Then once at the hospital, it showed a Dewey talking to Jill, saying how Gail would be okay, and how Sydney had also survived. But at one point, Jill did mention something about having her and Gail having matching wounds. Yeah. And then yeah, then after the conversation, Jill learning that Sydney was still alive, then was just enraged, and then tried to go finish the job in Sydney's room. Yeah. But then yeah, then when Dewey went to talk to Gail, he mentioned to Gail what Jill had said about matching wounds, but then like uh Gail and Dewey then realized how Jill were wondering how Jill actually knew where Gail was stabbed, and so that's when they really put the whole thing together that Jill was one of the killers. Yeah, but then yeah, then as a uh, Jill then tried to kill Sydney again, as Sydney was trying to fight back. As Dewey then arrived, uh, Jill knocked him out with a bedpan. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I feel that this whole thing with Jill taking down Sydney and Dewey and everybody. I feel that's not really believable. I mean, you mean to say that all these grown adults are being taken down and beaten up by a teenage girl? So yeah, that is kind of really hard to buy, and I really don't find it very believable. Yeah. Then yeah, then eventually then when like uh, uh Gail was then held at gunpoint by Jill Hill as the Gail was trying to stall Jill. Then Sydney got a hold of a defibrillator and then was able to shock Jill in the head, incapacitating her. Yeah, yeah. Then yeah, then yeah, then as Sydney and Gail were trying to tend to Dewey. As then Jill got back up and grabbed a piece of broken glass, attempting to kill Sydney again. Then Sydney grabbed a gun and shot Jill in the heart, then killing her. Yeah, yeah. And yeah, then Dewey then just called all the police units in. Yeah, and yeah, then the film just ended with a whole bunch of reporters outside naming Jill as a sole surviving hero. Yeah, but yeah, we never. It's never shown them really finding out the truth that Jill was one of the killers. Yeah, and that's how the movie ended. Yeah. So yeah. So like I said, I feel that the stuff with Jill in particular is probably the biggest problem with the film, because yeah, her motivation just doesn't make sense, and yeah, it really just puts everything that she had, what was going on with her up to her revelation, it all just goes down a hill, and it just all falls off a cliff for her. Yeah. And I guess something else that I also do want to say is just that maybe this was also when it was really getting really overboard, and kind of really just really hard to believe with Sydney surviving all these killers now. It's now, this film now marks 7 different people that were trying to go after her, and Sydney was able to defeat all 7 of them. So, yeah, it really does make it really hard to buy that Sydney was able to defeat all of these people that have been trying to kill her. So yeah, so I feel that this was probably where it was really just becoming a overkill, and was really kind of just really becoming very hard to believe. And I feel that this was probably another reason why probably the films should have really been done after the second one, because now with Sydney going defeating all these killers. It just was really hard to believe, to be honest. So yeah, so like I said, like this film definitely does have like some problems to it and some stuff that really doesn't make sense about it. But yeah, there are still like there are good performances. It's definitely better than the third film. The murders are a lot more violent this time. So yeah, so it's really hard to say that this movie really doesn't have anything to offer. Like the violence is like does give some pretty memorable deaths in the movie. Yeah, and the performances are pretty good aside from Emma Roberts as Jill. Yeah, yeah, and yeah, David Arquette, Nev Campbell, and Courtney Cox still are like really, really good in the film. So yeah, so what can I really say about it? Like, it's not a masterpiece, but yeah, it is still like has some to offer, and I do think it is still like it is a solid film overall. So yeah, so if you haven't seen it, you know, and if you are looking for kind of like a more violent version of a more violent Scream movie, then this one is probably for you. But yeah, it's not a masterpiece. Yeah, and I do think that the following film um, does like do it better. Yeah. So yes, and that's going to be coming up next. Up next, I'll be talking about the last year's Scream movie. So that'll be coming up next. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, I give this film 2.75 stars out of 4. All right. So yeah, so I guess that's the best way I can put it. All right, so yeah, so this is from my review of Scream 4. So I hope you guys did enjoy this review. Yeah, and stay tuned because yeah, like I said, up next I'll be talking about last year's Scream movie. So yeah, stay tuned for that coming up next. All right, but I hope you guys did enjoy this review. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.